and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR DFS and betting home. That is Brian Twining coming to you live from New Hampshire. I am Kyle Robert, hosting from the studio where I normally record. We are here to talk some Bristol dirt. Qualifying is done. Obviously, we didn't get practice due to weather, but the track seemed nice. There was definitely some takeaways from qualifying. It was cool to see more of like a heat style. Obviously, NASCAR finagled some of the rules, so it doesn't totally work out for who was the best driver, but it was good to see cars actually put in a few laps and race each other and see who was the more comfortable and all that good stuff. But Brian Twining, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing great now that I'm back at the house. For this Cali boy who hasn't been back east in quite a while, it was absolutely freezing today with some pretty gusty wind and temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s. So
Yeah, no thanks.
it's nice being back in the house for sure.
Yeah, no, we're soft out here on the West Coast, and that's completely fine. I had like 65, 70 degree day today, and it was glorious.
Yeah, I could only dream about that tonight.
Yeah, so qualifying was fun. Like I said, it was interesting to see some of the drivers got put into really competitive heats. Some of the drivers got put into bad heats. Obviously, getting a little experience with the car, sliding it around in the new downforce package, in the new ride. Obviously, second year of the new wheels at the dirt track, so that was interesting to see. It's Kyle Larson's world, and we're just living in it. The dude can literally race everywhere. We'll get to his betting odds here in a little while. I'm happy I added it when I did. Looked incredible, and yet seemed kind of annoyed with his ride and kind of almost wish he would have performed better. So it was interesting to see, despite qualifying on the pole, him being a little frustrated. Loves racing dirt. Obviously won, over, but I think Friday night was the race.
Yeah.
Won there. So he can get into any car, drive it around and be completely fine. The guys that you expected to drive well on dirt drove well on dirt. Tyler Reddick looked really, really good. He'll be starting sixth. Christopher Bell looked really, really good. Starting fourth. He had some interesting strategies. He was trying the high line, and then he would cut down as they kind of came around, I think turn two, and then would kind of go back up and then come down again. And he was kind of doing some crossovers in a few of his laps, which I thought was really interesting. Brian, I know you've been here, there, and everywhere, but I don't know if you caught this. Chase Briscoe broke his hand. Is going to be driving with a splint to this weekend and is going to be dealing with this issue for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So will be really interesting to see in terms of control of the car, especially at a race like this, where you're going to be needing to shift constantly. And
just this. So this particular race is going to require a lot of steering wheel time because you're going to be going into the corners, turning hard in order to get the car to drift, basically, and then have to cut it back the other direction to keep it going straight. Like, how in the world is he going to drive at this race?
Yeah, and like for 15 laps in a heat, that's probably doable. But I feel like over the whole course of a full day on Sunday, that's going to be painful. And even if he can withstand the discomfort, it's going to be a rough go, I think. So he's somebody that I'm probably going to be avoiding, but we'll see. And then William Byron qualified 10th. Didn't love his ride. Definitely has some stuff he wants to work out, but did enough where I'm kind of optimistic about what his potential may be this week. I guess let's start inside the 10K range. It really feels like grabbing two of these guys as elite options is the move, and then kind of figuring the rest out. But I guess where's your head at, and who would be the names that jump out from this group?
Well, first of all, the last time we went with chalk and Kyle Larson. I don't even think he made it past like lap 30. So that's not something I'm looking to do,
Yeah.
even though he is probably the dirt king in the Cup Series right now, and that's just kind of what we expected, and that's why he opened as the overwhelming favorite. I think for me, it's going to be you're going to start your lineup either with Reddick or Christopher Bell, two of the guys that should perform really well here. The two guys that should battle for top Toyota finisher. I'm personally going more towards Christopher Bell. I will say though, I think it's interesting that a lot of people won't realize that even me who didn't get to watch practice or qualifying, like this is something I know from the last couple of years, that the qualifying order isn't necessarily set based on fastest time. Like they take into account how many spots you move during your heat
Yeah, so it's
races,
based on
and
where you finish, it's based on how many spots you move up or down, and you get points based on that. So yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely like, and if you get put in the right quadrant with the right
exactly.
drivers who are, you could easily win your little heat, and then all of a sudden you're looking real good. So yeah, no, I think that's a really, really strong point.
And then also too, you have to be really careful because in this group, you have to select if you're going to go with two of these guys. You need to make sure you're picking the two guys that are going to be amongst the four guys like we've seen the past 2 years that are going to lead,
Yeah.
50 plus laps during the race. And because if you whiff on that, you're not going to take down a GPP.
Yep, I think that's a good call. Larson is interesting to me just because, to your point, you kind of skip over him and go to Reddick and Bell. Reddick's odds in terms of the outright market have basically sunk up with what Larson's is, and so I think that's interesting. People see, okay, there's two guys who are favored to win this race. I can save 200, get a guy who can move up 5 spots and not have to start on the pole. So I do wonder if some Larson ownership gets, like, there's not a ton there, and I can actually be a way to be a little bit unique.
That's a good point there.
I also think a lot of people start with one of those guys. So if you're able to finagle the two, I think, we'll have to do a build and see if that's
Yeah.
even something that makes sense. But, if you're able to start with two of those guys, I think you're going to feel really good. But there are plenty of options. And I think, I'm not really into the Briscoe thing, even though he does have some, experience. I'm just a little worried about his hand. And William Byron starting 10th is somebody who's really interesting to me, especially, starting with Larson and then going to Byron, or even Reddick or Bell and then going to Byron. Still getting two in that 10 range, still getting two guys starting in the top 10, but saving a little bit to kind of feel better about the rest of your lineup. So that is that. I think we should dive into the 9K range because I think this is where things get interesting. Our guy Joey Logano won the truck race tonight. It looked really, really good, dominant. I think it's good that he got all that experience just kind of cruising around and getting comfortable on the track. Starting 12th, let's get to Brian's point, starting 12th doesn't mean that he was slow. It just based on where he started and where he was going. He was also a guy that, he moved up 3 spots, but as the race goes along, he's going to get better and get better. This is a guy who's finished in the top 5 in both opportunities here. Obviously, like I said, won the truck race. I think he's going to be somebody that I'm happy to jam into a bunch of lineups. Kyle Busch starting 5th. Ryan Blaney actually looked really good. Obviously started on the pole in his heat, but dominated a lot of that race. He said he had some stuff he wanted to work on, but for the most part looked really good. Ross Chastain starting 16th. Denny Hamlin starting 30th at 9,100. Interesting group. There's a lot you can do. You can go with some more front runners like Kyle Busch, like Ryan Blaney. You can also go with Hamlin, who's starting near the back. You could find some guys in between, I guess. Is it Logano or bust for you for this range, Brian, or is there someone else that you're willing to find a home for?
Well, I'll lead off by just saying, so Logano's 12th place starting position has a lot to do with the fact that within his heat, not all of these guys are necessarily great dirt drivers, but when you hear the names in his particular heat, you understand why he wasn't able to move to the front. I mean, we're talking Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, Dirt Ringer, Jonathan Davenport, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Daniel Suarez, who a lot of people figured would come out strong this week, as opposed to another group where you have like Ryan Preece, JJ Yaley, Eric Jones, McDowell, Crafton, Busher, Ty Dillon, and Corey LaJoie. Like, if he was thrown into that group, there's probably a better chance he's starting 4th or 5th because he's probably going to speed past those guys. So I think Logano is a play that if you wanted to even skip the entire 10K range, which would be extremely risky, he's somebody that would make sense. And then Kyle Busch is somebody who he's been good here before. He was battling in, I believe, one of the 2 races. He had some issues that caused him to not finish very well. But Busch is a guy who has looked good here the previous 2 years. And so for me, I would try to figure out a way to continue down this disgusting path and have Joey Logano just kind of go all in on the 22.
To be honest, I like the idea of either jamming 2 10K guys or just bypassing it completely. I think so many lineups are going to be a 10K guy, a 9K guy, and then kind of figuring it out. So if you want to, but if you're doing cash games, then obviously, be as consistent as you want to. But I think being contrarian in those 2 ways, I think will be a lot. I will say there are a few names from the Larson pod that I think are going to be interesting and guys that I'm going to pound the table for as we cruise through these names. We'll head into the 8K range. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Little more optimistic about him. Think he could be interesting, especially starting 22nd on dirt. Truex starting 27th. Alex Bowman, guy a lot of people were excited about before practice and qualifying. 8,500 starting 17th. Kevin Harvick starting 26th. Daniel Suarez is going to be incredibly popular, and I think it's warranted. Starting 34th, 8,100. I think he is a guy that has the chance to move up through the field and have a really, really strong day. So I like a lot of these names, and I think whether you start expensive or you kind of skip the 10K range, this is kind of the next logical stopping point. For me, it's Suarez and then Bowman and then probably Stenhouse. But I guess what names jump out for you?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not as high on Suarez as a lot of people are going to be this week. I think it's between Stenhouse and Bowman. I mean, when you look at Stenhouse, he started his heat first. And I mean, the only way you could go from there is back. And he had, Bell, Reddick, Bowman, and Austin Dillon, who I'm actually quite surprised that he performed so well looking at the numbers in qualifying. But like, clearly there was a good shot that he was going to lose spots during his heat. So I think he's somebody that it should still be considered. He was one of the guys coming into the week that everyone would be looking at his top 10 numbers. He had a shorter outright than he's going to have at any other race. He's got the past dirt history. So I like Stenhouse. I like Alex Bowman. He's a guy, he's putting together a really solid season. This is the best start to a year he's had in his career, the Cup Series. And I don't see him slowing down and, just driving an HMS car. Like, they've been so strong no matter any type of track.
Yeah, and his teammates to Kyle Larson, who's arguably the best dirt driver. So
exactly.
I will say, that first pod of Dillon, Reddick, Bell, Bowman, Stenhouse. I mean, that's incredible. Like,
that's a strong
Reddick and
group.
Bell, maybe 2 of the top 4 guys. Bowman's kind of in the next group. Austin Dillon, I will say, I'm going to pound the table for him because, my God, did he look like a good driver as we kind of dive into the 7K range. Busher starting 28th. Josh Berry starting 31st. Brad Keselowski 33rd. Austin Dillon looked really good, and he looked comfortable. I'm optimistic about him. If you want a second dominator, I think he is worth your time, even starting second. I think he'll have a really, really good day. And don't load up on him in all your lineups, but I think he's worthwhile. Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece also looked really good, really comfortable in the dirt. Not a big dirt driver, so if you want to fade him, it's an easy overpass, but I think he could be a little bit under-owned. I think has a chance to move up, and at 7K, I think he makes a lot of sense. I guess for you from this range, Is there anybody you like, or because another way to find it is just to cross this line off and dive down and go with some cheaper guys.
Well, I'm going to continue down the disgustingness. And Brad Keselowski is starting 33rd. He's finished 11th in both previous dirt races at this track, both starting those 18th and 20th position. He's starting a little bit further back this time. But he's just the kind of guy that could withstand the battle of attrition at a race like this. As long as he's not the one that's causing the wreck, he's going to avoid other people. So, I mean, obviously you're hoping that happens, but getting a 33rd starting position for him is something you're not going to find very often at 7,600. So I like him out of this group.
Yeah, like Busher is somebody that I want to be excited about just because he's done okay, but he feels like a guy who kind of just stays where he is most of the day. At dirt tracks, he started, I think he finished 15th when he started 15th. The other one he started, I was just looking and my brain stopped working. He started 14, or he started 11th when it went to 14. So he's kind of just like, he could ride in that low to mid teens, but I don't know. It feels like he's a guy who starts in 28th, finishes 24th, and is just kind of there all day. Maybe moves up a little bit, moves down a little bit. I'm with you on Keselowski. I think that's an interesting call. Like I said, I think Dillon and Priest are worthwhile, depending on what you do up at the top. Let's dive into the 6K range. Haley, once again, somebody who's interesting to me, has a lot of dirt experience. I think could make some sense. Davenport is a guy that has he's the Allmendinger of dirt, so I think you could definitely get to him. Michael McDowell starting 13th. I know a lot of people are just gonna jump over him. I think he's worth your time. He made some early moves in his heat. He has been a guy that flirts to the top 10. In both of his previous starts, obviously was in a tough group, and also kind of ended up getting pushed away. But I think he could be somebody that is worth a little bit more of a look than maybe the starting position and the price indicate. But and I guess we could we'll save that. So of the 6K guys, who are you gravitating towards?
I mean, honestly, I don't know much about this Jonathan Davenport dude, but it's always fun to get a ringer at a particular track type. And the fact that he was able to kind of stay where he started, I know he started on the front row during his heat, but I mean, he only lost 2 spots. He started second and he finished 4th during that. I mean, and he had a tough heat. It's similar to what I talked about Logano. Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez. All those guys are really good drivers. And for him to be able to, even in such a short amount of time in that 15 laps, I think that's where he might actually be better than the rest of these guys, is that he has way more like recent experience in the long duration of these dirt tracks. So I think he's somebody to consider starting at the middle of the field that could potentially crack the top 10 late.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, as the race goes along, as the wheels start to deteriorate, as the cars start to go through more stuff, like having a little bit more experience, knowing what to expect, that could be something that pays off big. So yeah, Davenport is somebody I'm interested in. Like I said, McDowell I'm interested in, and then Justin Haley. Those are the three names for me. We'll round out the rest of the field. We have Eric Jones starting 18th, Cindric starting 7th. Noah Gragson, I was hoping for a little bit more, didn't get anything. He's a cross off for me. Harrison Burton, Gilliland starting 15th. He's a guy obviously who's been hot, back-to-back top 10s. I think he makes a little bit of sense as a guy who's just comfortable on dirt. As you get down here, Corey LaJoy, Ty Dillon, no thank you. JJ Yaley looked really good. I know he's starting 3rd and he's really scary, but he's sub 5K.
He's in a Rick Ware car.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're doing elsewhere, right? Like if you're not spending
I guess I can see that. My only worry though is that when is the last time we saw the 15 finish on the lead lap in a race that there's going to be beaten and banging?
Right. Well, that is the concern. Like after 15 laps, he was able to hang around, but as a long Sunday goes,
Exactly.
it could be a little bit of a challenge. So, Brian, I say we build 2 lineups. I say we start at the top and knock 2 out, and
Perfect.
then we build a second lineup where we kind of skip over the top, the 10K range and belt go down. So, um, I would like to use one of Larson, Reddick, or Bell, and then I would like to pair them with William Byron.
Well, you know where I stand on that. Give me Christopher Bell.
Okay. So that is how we are starting. Do you let's see if we can do this. I don't know if it's going to work. We might have to pivot, but I'd like to include Joey Logano. We're both very high on him. We think he has a chance to make some serious noise, and over the long haul will be really strong. Now we're going to have to get some values here. So this is where we're going to have to get down. So Davenport, McDowell, Gilliland. I'm in on JJ Yaley. Like it depends on how gross we want to get, and then how high we want to get back up. So I like just for shits and gigs. Let's put in Yaley.
All right.
That gives us a lot more flexibility now. If we can throw in, like, do you want to throw in Davenport? Do you want to Justin?
I was gonna say let's throw in Justin Haley.
Okay, and just figure out what that gives us. So that takes us up to 7,900. So Busher, Josh Berry, Brad K, 7,600.
If we're getting down and dirty, Brad K and Joey Logano in the same lineup is the way to go.
Yeah, and then it also gives us a little bit more of a starting further back, chance to move up. I know Yaley is not the sexiest driver, and you're not going to feel good about, like you said, having a Rick Ware car over the long haul, but I think he is interesting, especially with guys like Logano and Byron and Bell that we're going to feel so strong about, and a lot of people are going to do much of the same. So let's build.
I'm going to say over or under 30 laps of Yaley being on the lead lap.
I'm taking the over. I'm going to pound the table. All right. So we're skipping 10K completely. So we're going to start with Logano.
Okay. All right.
Where would we go next? We can go
Spin
Kyle
house.
Busch. Huh?
Ricky Spinhouse.
Okay. I like it. Alex Bowman, 85.
Love it.
Suarez, you're kind of out on him, right?
Well, so I was just thinking about this particular lineup. The only thing we're putting ourselves at risk at is that we're going to need one of these guys to jump to the front, because there's going to be a guy.
A. Dillon.
All right.
Austin Dillon or Ryan Preece, or like, let's see where we're at salary wise. I mean, we could get to Kyle Busch, and then we could dive way down because we've only put one 9K guy in. So if you feel better,
let's see it.
So would you rather go Kyle Busch or Austin Dillon?
Personally, Kyle Busch. I just think over the long run, I think he's.
Let's put Kyle Busch in. So we're at 65.50 per driver. So I like McDowell quite a bit. I mean, Cindric could be another guy that starts near the front that moves up quickly. Gilliland is fine. Once again, we're getting to, some of the guys that we were kind of not loving, but McDowell.
I'm okay with McDowell.
Okay, so let's put McDowell at 6,400.
And then we could have Davenport.
Yep, he's an easy click. Davenport, yeah, I think he makes the most sense in terms of comfort moving forward. Gilliland would be another name. Yeah, I think, at this point we're looking, just give me the guy who's going to get to the front, because it's not like we're going to really get Haley or Preece or any of these kind of guys. So let's throw Davenport in there. We'll save that lineup.
Yeah, and that particular lineup, if you were to ask me, you just like the previous one, honestly, I feel like we have 3 guys that could potentially win the race.
Yeah.
In this other one, I don't think it's that out of, that crazy to see Logano, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse, or Alex Bowman win tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I might take this lineup and build an alternate version where I get a little grosser, but we'll
do
see.
not put JJ.
We'll see what the morning. We'll see what the morning brings us. So let's review our card as we sit here. I bet Joey Logano at 14-1. I bet Kyle Larson at plus 550. Daniel Suarez to top 10 at plus 110. I'm guessing I'm going to get a better number. We'll see. I went Logano as the top 4 at plus 240. I went Logano over William Byron. And then I went Kyle Busch over Chase Briscoe, which I kind of wish I had gone a little heavier on that because I love where that number is sitting right now. Brian's card is quiet, but I have a feeling as we do it will get a little busier. But this isn't a bad race to be a little cautious. I feel like I have some confidence in a few guys, but there's also a lot of like potential just track nonsense that's going to happen between the dirt and all the stuff that could make things interesting. So let's review the odds as they sit and see if there's any more value. So Kyle Larson plus 325 is his shortest, plus 450 is his longest. So I'm really happy to have that sitting on the card at plus 550.
Yeah, good call there.
Tyler Reddick's number came crashing down. He looked really good. He's very good on dirt. I think he makes a ton of sense. Christopher Bell, same, 7-1, 6-1. I mean, if I'm betting any of these guys now, it's probably Bell, just because you can get such a better number. Like, I think Bell is closer to Reddick than Reddick is to Larson, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also don't understand why Reddick and Bell would be separated by basically 2 units here when like Bell moved up. I believe it was 4 spots as well.
Yeah. So I think Chris Bell is really comfortable on dirt. Had some nice, and he was testing some stuff because obviously they didn't get practice. So interesting to see how he performs tomorrow. Kyle Busch 10-1 is fine. People are betting Briscoe. Maybe I'll be stupid and it'll be like Tyler Reddick at Coda, but I think he's a guy you can skip over. Joey Logano, I'm still happy to back at 12 or 14. I love that. I'm going to add William Byron as my third and final outright. 20-1 at Bet Rivers is just, it seems like a bridge. Like it just doesn't make sense at this point. And whenever I bet Byron, especially the way he's been driving this year, like if I see a number that I think is out of whack for what the market should be, it just doesn't, I'm going to take an opportunity to back it and figure it out later. So I am adding William Byron at 20-1 to the card.
Nice. That's a good number. I think I'm actually going to, you can't see it there, but Kyle Busch at BetMGM right now is 14-1.
That's a good number. And that's why you shop it. I don't think it's up. Oh yeah. Yep. There it is right there.
I'm going to check it just to make sure that this is an up to date.
Yeah. Make sure that that's a valid number.
But yeah, like that number, if that's still out there, that is a smash for me.
Yep. And that is why you always shop it, because the same place where Kyle Busch gets 4 extra points, William Byron is 12, and you can get him as long as 15, 17, 20. So,
and let's not forget, just a couple of weeks ago, people were talking about Kyle Busch as being the guy that was going to run away with the most wins this year. So don't just forget about him.
I am gonna prevent myself. I'm wondering if those MGM odds are a little aren't updated because.
Oh yeah, no, he's 10-1 at MGM.
Yeah. So
that's why that's why you check. That's why we double check, folks.
We don't take stale numbers, because when I saw Dylan's numbers, I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's not good. I refuse to bet Ryan Blaney. I am tired of him or his pit crew or a wrench or something being the cause of my demise, but 20-1 is a nice number for a guy who looked really comfortable on dirt. So
his tire is going to fall off. We already know how this is going to work.
I know. That's why I'm not betting it, but I'm just telling you. Alex Bowman at 35 feels really nice. I think that's worth your time if you are a Bowman backer. I don't hate Stenhouse at 30. I think it'd be a pretty wild season for Ricky Stenhouse to win twice after how horrendous he was last year. But like I said, he looked comfortable. He drove well. I think it's a nice value. I'd prefer Bowman, especially if you can get the full 33 or 35. But
yeah, I think Stenhouse is definitely a better play. Like if you find him on a top 10 market, especially
we'll
after
flip over and look at
qualifying 22nd.
Yeah, like top 10s, head to heads. Like there's opportunities to back him, not outright, but if you feel strongly about him, 30 is a fine number. Yeah, I think that's kind of my cutoff. Like even with Suarez, I like him a lot, but I don't think he can win the race, at least where he's starting right now. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I think he makes much more sense in a variety of other race ways.
Yeah, and Suarez too. Just it's going to be difficult to move from basically the rear of the field here without making contact with somebody or even the threat of getting lapped.
Right, or even like somebody who's not as comfortable on dirt trying to go around the corner, spinning out, and then you just getting caught up in this nonsense.
Yeah, because he's stuck around those people, like that presents that opportunity a lot stronger.
I mean, Cindric being priced at 80 feels a little crazy considering like how well he looked today and where he'll be starting.
Yeah.
But once again, I have my 3 outrights. They're Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, William Byron. I'm happy with that. I'm going to stick to that. Any other outrights you want to check out before we go to the placement positions?
Man, I kind of want to do it, and I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to add Christopher Bell at that 6.5 to 1. He did nothing from what I'm seeing here on the data and like how many spots he moved up, and considering his group, that should knock him at all. And also too, I really don't understand how Reddick has leapfrogged him so much.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great call. Like I said, if I was betting one of these 3 now, it would probably be Bell. So I completely co-sign that bet. Top 10 market is going to be a little gross just because there's going to be some guys that are heavily favored, but I think there is opportunity. Austin Dillon is really tempting. I'm telling you. William Byron at plus 100. Welcome to the betting card.
That's pretty good. Where are we seeing this?
This is the top 10, folks. Like, I'm not expecting him. I mean, I am expecting him to win the race. Or think it's in his range of outcomes, and I think he can do that then.
Yeah.
A T10. And he's been a guy who's a little more consistent in terms of running near the front. He's not having the same issues. Recce Spinouts top 10 at plus 150. Welcome to the betting card. I hate myself for doing this, but it makes too much sense.
Yeah, and I mean, my card's not going to be big this week, so I'm just going to go all in with one guy, and this is the absolute do the opposite of what Brian says this week. But I'm going to add the Joey Logano top 10 number at Caesars at minus 115. That number is
it's a good number.
Too enticing.
It's a really good number. Priest, Truex, Hamlin. So Suarez is plus 175. Man, I have the plus 110 right now. I might look at head to heads. Cindric plus 265. We'll look at. Let's go over here and look at their top 10 because I do want to see. Did you schedule? No. Future bets?
Yeah, future bets.
Top 10. Let's see what numbers are posted over here. Austin Dillon minus 120.
I mean, if you like Michael McDowell,
I do like Michael McDowell.
He's 3-1 at Bet Rivers, top 10.
Yeah, I like that. I'm taking that.
And then a good indication as to what House Caesars expects JJ Yaley to perform even while starting as high as he is. He's 5.5 to 1 the top 10, which are the same odds as AJ Allmendinger, behind Ty Dillon and Eric Almirola, who are starting near the back of the field.
Welcome to the card, JJ.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Kyle is getting gross.
It's real dumb, I'm sure. But
all right, I found one. I'm gonna add the Justin Haley number at 2.5 to 1 over at Caesars. I think his last year he was here. He finished, I believe it was like 15th or 16th or something. So I think he's got a good shot, possibility of doing that.
Yeah, no, I think he started 6th, he finished 14th. But he's been a better driver. I think he looked really good in qualifying, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's go to the head-to-head. So Kyle Busch. Oh, give it to me. Kyle Busch over Chase Briscoe. Are you kidding me?
Already added it. That number is ridiculous.
I have it at plus 105. Yeah, I'm adding a second. I'm adding a second unit at plus 110. That's just what are we doing here, people? What are we doing? I will take the 2 hands versus the 1. Ricky Stenhouse, that's a good number. Tyler Reddick. Here you could take Reddick versus Bell right here, plus 110.
Oh yeah. So I already have that, but I will add that. I'll add one more unit on that just because I got a better number now.
Kevin Harvick versus Chris Buescher. Let's go back to here and go to the matchups. See if there's anything else. Logano's plus 100 versus Byron. Buescher versus Brad. Stenhouse versus a bet I would never make anywhere else. I'm gonna make Stenhouse versus Hambone at minus 105. Thank you very much, DraftKings. All right, my betting card is getting far too aggressive for a race that has a lot that could go wild. But if we're not betting these random stuff, like, are we having fun? No, we're not.
No, of course not. So that one right there, Ross Chastain versus Ryan Blaney. This will be my only Ryan Blaney exposure this week. Minus 115 against Ross DeBoss.
I like it. I like it a lot. Suarez versus Truex. Kind of like that. Suarez versus Bowman. Briscoe. Yeah, I think I don't know.
We gotta check in on FanDuel because they don't. I feel like they haven't been posting their numbers to Action Network, or at least updating them.
I don't know if they have much as we record here on Saturday night.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's FanDuel for you.
Dumb.
All right. I think my last one's going to be Suarez over Truex. I want another piece of Suarez, but I'm not going to take the top 10 at a fine point. Okay. As always, shop these. You may find better numbers when you're watching this on Sunday more rather. The nice thing is this will be able to live a little bit longer just because the race is in the evening in Bristol, so that will help people be able to view the show. So
true.
Anything else we should look at? Maybe let's go to future bets, I think, and then top 4. Joey Logano is plus 360.
Yeah, I don't want to. I already got so much out on him.
I have him at plus 240. I have 2 units on. Do I add another unit at plus 360 or do I fade him a little bit? I don't know. I'll probably be okay. I think that's a great bet if you can get it. Bell plus 160 is fine.
That the Chevy one is like,
yeah.
I mean, you like William Byron.
What if Kyle Larson does Kyle Larson things when we're excited about him?
Yeah. The thing is
William Byron at 7-1 is nice, but yeah,
we've already fallen victim to this. When we expected Larson to kick ass, he sucked.
Yeah.
Man, I so wish that these books had the yes no props because we could go full fade Briscoe right now.
Yeah.
No top 10, no top 5.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And probably like Phil Mickelson, he'll end up winning the race. Who somehow in the top 10 at the Masters despite being a horrible, horrible golfer for like the last year and a half, but that's okay.
He's been saving himself for the biggest
event. I'm not bitter
in the
at
sport.
all. Jonathan Davenport 6-1 at top 5. Ugh. Ooh. Yeah. Austin Dillon to top 3 at 425. F it. Adding that.
You are living very dangerously, sir.
I'm a man of my convictions, Brian Twining. And actually, let's go over here and see if that's the best number. I can get a 7-1 at DraftKings. I will take that. I'm not putting my life savings on it, but I do think it's worth a sprinkle. And I do expect him to have a strong performance. So Bowman at 9-1 is really nice. I think those are the two that jump out at longer odds. Hell, even Byron at 475.
Your card is getting...
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah,
obnoxiously
it's either going to go
long.
really well or really bad. So let's review the cards. Let's give the people a best bet. Let's get the hell out of here. So, as we sit here right now, let me close this. 3 outrights. Joey Logano 14-1, Kyle Larson plus 550, and William Byron at 20-1. My units are set up accordingly. I have Daniel Suarez to top 10 from Wednesday. I have William Byron to top 10 from today at a plus 100. Logano top 40. You can get a better number now. Logano over Byron. Kyle Busch over Chase Briscoe. When I went back to Ricky Spinouts top 10. Michael McDowell, this is a T10.
Oops.
3-1. JJ Yaley T10 at 5-1. Yeah, drink it in. Ricky Stenhouse versus Dennis Hamlin minus 105. Daniel Suarez versus Marty Truex minus 110, and Austin Dillon to top 3 at 7-1. My best bet from Wednesday is Logano top 4. So obviously I'd be happy to go back to it. Brian, break down your card. Give the people your favorite bet as we sit here Saturday night. I will do the same, and we'll get the hell out of here.
All right, so I only got 2 outrights here. I opened the week with Joey Logano at 14-1 from Bet Rivers. You can still get him at 12 at all of their regular sports books, and I'm adding Christopher Bell at 6.5, who he basically opened at this number, and I feel pretty confident the number's set right. Top 10s, I only got 2. Justin Haley at 2.5 to 1, and then Logano, I added that today at minus 115 for 2 units. That's ridiculous. And then my best bet from earlier in the week was Logano top 5 at plus 170 over at Caesars. But if you head over to DraftKings, you could hit that at 2-1 right now, which I think is a great number and a great bet. And then I earlier in the week had Christopher Bell over Tyler Reddick at minus 105. I'm going back to the well, adding Bell over Reddick at plus 110 over at Caesars for another unit. And then like Kyle, I like the Kyle Busch over Chase Briscoe, and then Ryan Blaney over Ross Chastain at minus 115 over at DK. My best bet sitting here as we speak right before race day, I'm going to smash that Bell versus Reddick number at plus 110. These guys are far too similar in their skill level here and their skill set. And I would give the edge to Christopher Bell driving the JGR car over the 2311 car. And in terms of the resources they have to set up for a long run at this race. So getting plus money for guys who are as close in talent as you could basically get is a fantastic value and a great bet. So I'm going to go 3 units on the plus 110 number.
I love to hear you say that. It really makes me happy because I thought we were going to be simpatico on our best bet again. We were both all over Joey Logano. That either is going to go amazingly or horribly.
Yeah.
My bet is probably on the latter, but we'll see. So if you want to fade Brian and I and just go against Joey Logano, I would not blame one person who did that. As much as I want to take Stenhouse over Hamlin, and I really, really do. It's Kyle Busch week.
Yep.
Busch over Briscoe. I'm going 5 units on that bad boy. Plus 110. I may end up eating dirt, and if Briscoe has the drive that some people think he can, then I will look real dumb. But I think I'm right. I feel confident. I'm worried about his hand. I like to trust Kyle Busch. Obviously looked really good in qualifying. I think he'll have a strong drive. That is Brian Twining. I am Kyle Robert. Enjoy the hell out of Bristol Dirt. If you are still here, make sure you've hit subscribe. A lot of us have not done that. Hit the thumbs up. Let us know your favorite bets down in the comments, and we'll talk to you next week to recap all the madness that was Bristol Dirt. You guys have a good one.